Today, we are talking about the real reason lawn care and landscape businesses stay small. If you've been stuck trying to grow your business, this video is for you. I've been up against the wall trying to get our company to scale and grow many different times throughout the beginning, middle, second state, and on phases that we've been through. And I want to share really three of the biggest things that jump out to me that can be really, really problematic. And ultimately will help you grow if you can kind of, one, avoid this, or two, at least understand this so it helps you navigate the things that are going to come up in your company. Before we get going into this conversation today though, GrowCom, my coaching group, I keep getting messages on YouTube about it, is going to be opening. We didn't open it the whole tail end of last year. It's going to be opening at the end of this month for roughly a week. There is weekly calls. You can use all of our templates. You can use all of our stuff we have online, and we're building new courses. We're specifically building a course on sales and selling more projects in general right now that's going to coincide with the launch of it opening up again. Don't miss out on that. jacobgodar.com. You can go to coaching and training, and you get on the wait list so you get early notification when it does open. So let's get right into this topic though. Growing your company, stalling out, having that frustration that can come up, and why can't we get bigger? Why is this staying so small? The first thing that is big that I struggled with in the beginning, and I'm going to give you some homework as you listen to me talk. You're going to see me looking down at my notes because this one really hits home for me. Some of the homework I want to give you from the beginning is look into the book, The E-Myth, right? You can do the original E-Myth, or you can do the lawn and landscape version, either one. That's got Tony Bass, I think is his name in it, who's phenomenal. I would listen to both, right? If you're in the phase, when I listen to this book, of you're out there grinding, you're starting your business, you're out there doing the work, get audiobooks. Listen, some of the best money you'll ever spend is having audiobooks on your phone where you can listen to that at all times and constantly be learning. And so the first piece that I want you to avoid or understand and know about so you can avoid is the difference between being an owner and an operator, and really like how to avoid getting stuck in being an operator. That's what the E-Myth goes over in its entirety. And it really states in that book that so many people know how to mow a lawn, know how to weld, know how to do this. They know how to do some sort of technician service. They know how to do the technical side. And Michael Gerber calls it technician seizure or something like that. Basically, one day you're frustrated with something that happens at work. You're pissed off at your boss. You're pissed off about the job. This thing goes awry. You're pissed that it's raining on you and you have to work anyway. And you're like, screw this. I can do this. I know how to. I can do it better on my own. And so because you know how to do the service, the thing, the technical aspect, you then go out and start a business because you're frustrated. You have that breaking point. We broke. Now we're going to go out and start it on our own. And the biggest issue that happens to so many is they go out and start this thing on their own. Yes, you're doing it on your own, but you're still thinking just in the mind of the technician. And the technician is valid and important and has to be there. But to run the business, it's not the same as being the technician. The concerns, the worries, the frustrations. There's so many things in running a business besides just, if it was all about just being, for example, mowing, if it was all just about making the lawn perfect, then it would be easy, but it's not. And as you scale a company, if you focus on, and this is the difference between owner and operator, right? If you stay in that operator mindset, you focus, get this lawn perfect, get this lawn perfect, get this lawn perfect, and you never allow your mind to shift towards owning and having a bunch of employees so you can scale that. If you want to scale that, and that is this video, so that's what this is for, you stay small because one of the main hiccups you run into is no one can ever do it as good as me. Everybody I hire is always so many problems. You say all these stories because you're deeming what you do as perfect. And then anything that's less than, or maybe not even performed the same, it's not good enough for you. So then you can't even have those people. And if you can't have technicians that are going to have a variety of skill sets, and you can't ever break through the limiting factor of realizing technicians or other staff in general, if they can do 70 to 80% of what you can do, they're great. They're not ever going to outproduce or be willing to put in the effort necessarily. I mean, there's exceptional people all over the world, but on the average, they're not going to be willing to do more than the person that has all the money and finances on the line, like the owner does, right? And so our expectation, and then often what we pay is so out of sorts, right? We expect so much and people pay so little, and then they don't ever get anybody good. And so that alone can keep their company from growing because they're staying in that operator mindset of got to do this thing and it's got to be perfect. You have to truly let go some and realize progress over perfection. We're going to break a few eggs to make this omelet, but if we never break those eggs, we're just going to have a nice dozen eggs that we get to look at in a case and we never can fucking make anything out of it. And that alone can keep you from scaling your company. And then that happens on all these different little aspects. You get more worried about the art in the business and not the actual business in the business, right? There is documentation, there is structure, there are all these pieces that you need to smooth out and make repeatable and make processes so more and more people can have repeatable results to grow and scale the company. And if you stay in a situation where another side, I was talking about an employee just doing a service, if you stay in a situation where it's just you who can sell the product because no one understands the stuff like me, I've sat and talked to people on the phone and had landscape design install people, sign install, anybody who's building something say that, man, I know how to do it and no one else can do it the way I do it. If you haven't taken what's in your head and put it down on paper and then built a system so other people can use what's in your head, of course no one else can do it because you haven't told, you haven't taught, you haven't broken it down. And the only reason you can do it is because it took years to pile up what's in your head and then be able to use and articulate all of that knowledge to be able to produce what you can produce. Of course, someone who's just jumping into a thing can't do the same. So if you don't build the tools around what you know and put what's in here on this, on paper, you're never going to be able to grow and scale anything because yes, of course, it's not no one's doing anything wrong by not being able to do what you can do. They don't have the tools and they definitely don't have the key to unlock your head and extract data. And so there's another example of we just get in this locked in phase of we're the only person. If you're the only person in your mind, you will for sure only be the only person because there's no magic person who comes in and shows up and knows everything in your brain and can help you operate your company. You still have to take action. You have to make things happen. You have to put what's in here on paper, on documents, so other people can use it well. I'll tell you one of my biggest failures. So often I communicate poorly or I communicate quickly and I say, hey, we need to do that. And I mean, that's what we should do. That's a great idea. Let's run with it. And I'm so on to the next and on to the next and on to the next that I didn't give this person the solidification that this is something they need to do. Here's what they need to do it, and then they should move forward with it. And then I just keep running on down the line. So there's so many levels of this, but truly, those two examples I give you of being stuck in operator versus owner can be so detrimental and will for sure keep you from scaling your company. Now, secondly, one of the biggest things I see is people thinking that 1 million maybe in a company is one, the right goal, and two, a big enough goal. If you really want to scale your company, one, just thinking that 1 million is the goal is problematic, and two, thinking that it's big enough is even more problematic because 1 million as a goal in general is leading you to a point that if that is the end point now and we're targeting, and not that 1 million shouldn't be a goal on the line, but thinking that it's the be all end all of scaling your company, I think a lot of people put so much emphasis on it, they make it this big, magnificent thing. And let me promise you, when you grow a company, you realize that 1 million is nothing. It is not a big goal. This doesn't belittle anybody doing 100,000, 50,000, 200,000. Those are all worthy goals. But people put 1 million on such a pedestal of the goal that then it makes anything beyond that is scaling further seem impossible. And when you put something so high on a pedestal, it makes it appear higher and harder to get to, that if you were past it, you would realize that's not really that hard to get to. We can get to it easier and faster. And so by thinking it's so big, that alone can make it harder to get to versus thinking That's a stepping stone. That's a good goal. Definitely not what I want to see in scale long term. If I'm wanting to grow a big company, if you want to have a $500,000 company, that's fine. This video is not for the person who wants to do that. That's an awesome thing for someone that wants that. But if someone's really wanting to scale, one of the reasons alone is putting stuff up on this high pedestal that seems impossible when it is very, very possible, makes it less possible. And then when you have that as the goal and the big goal of the company, that alone is like, okay, so that's the end of the arc, right? That's the end of the rainbow. Now you've positioned yourself on having a goal that is legitimately the hardest place to be, right? Like 5 million to $1 million is a black hole. You are having to go from what I'm talking about. You're having to introduce more and more people to your company, and you're having to start introducing people that do not drive billable hours, because now you're getting people in the office. And so each time you add one of those, that's overhead. And when you add overhead, it's not necessarily producing money, it's helping you produce the overall money in dollars. And so it is, the meat on the bone is getting thinner and thinner and thinner, and you really need to start boosting and boosting and boosting that revenue. And if you end at $1 million, you're really just getting to that breaking point where now you need to start adding the revenue to help support all this additional staff that it took to build where you're at so far. So for two reasons, you make this this big massive goal, and then it seems harder, and it seems even harder out there to reach than possible. If you really break it down into what do you need a month to produce $1 million, what does that need to be a week, you start to realize 100,000 a month or more is not going to be hard to achieve in your company. That alone makes it easier to achieve. And that secondly, knowing that you land and you put this as the ultimate goal, and it's going to, by that being the ultimate goal, the goal for me to share with you, it should be to blow past that. It's a stepping stone. We're going to hit $1 million, but we're going to then go out and do 1,000,003, 1,000,005, 2 million, so you can keep adding the revenue that helps support the staff, because that's the hardest thing. When you start adding more and more and more support staff, that is super, super taxing on the company. And if you start to stall, or you only go to a certain place, you could end up with a much bigger problem than you really intended or ever wanted. Now, finally, growth has taught me so much, and has shown me so many things, like in this starting in Illinois and then starting a location in Florida. It has taught me so many things that I need to unlearn, and I noted down a few of those right here. Number one, not being the answer person for everything. I, out of my own validation and making probably myself feel good about being me, have always wanted to answer everything all the time. And I realized as the company grew, my want, and truly I thought was the best person to answer a lot of stuff, has made it where a lot of people go to me for everything versus a team helping achieve stuff all the time, or a team feeling like they can make the right decisions. And so in your effort to want to be the answer person, you can also I don't know the best word, but demotivate the team towards making some of these yes/no decisions, because you're always having to have your say in everything. Next, the difference between getting everyone going, one, and get everyone going in the right direction. So I've always been very, very excited about bringing the energy, bringing the excitement, pushing the company to grow, pushing the team to excel, getting everybody rolling, coming in and saying, hey guys, there's nothing on the fucking schedule. We have to sell. Sales is senior. Stop doing anything else. Let's do this, right? And so I've always brought the excitement. I've always helped be able to steer and push the company in a certain direction. But at some point, once a thing grows so big and there's so much, back to the supporting staff thing that happens, like that goal of like the point of $1 million, a big enough goal. Before you know it, you can't push everybody easily in the same direction. You have to guide everybody in the same direction. You have to create alignment strategically so people are working on the proper things, because it's very, very easy in a company for there to be more and more people, and before you know it, everyone's working on a thing that they deem important, but it's not the most important thing. It's not adding the most value to the company. And now you just have a bunch of people doing things, but not doing the best things to help the company excel overall. Next, deep versus wide. So often in the company, when we first started, we want more and more and more and more services for the sake of revenue and the sake of growth. And as I look at what we created in Florida, I realize, and you hear this everywhere, right? You're gonna hear this from me, and a million people are gonna not do this anyway, and then over time you're gonna see that it's better. we started really going deep into the services and making sure we were offering and doing the best at a service versus doing all the services in the world and kind of being the jack of all trades and the master of none. And finally, managers versus managers. I started to see that what I expected from a manager and wanted at first was, I really wanted someone to help us build the company and just really help us in a position. And we gave managers manager titles more out of the title versus are they truly capable. And I realized over time how much more and more a manager is truly supposed to be held accountable for and is supposed to do, but then also needs the training and the solidification and the backup to be able to correctly do those things. And so with all of this kind of being said, we are the biggest cap on ourselves, right? And we don't learn enough or don't expose ourselves or don't get out there. We think we got here and we start to get comfortable and we get complacent, and we put all these caps on ourselves that will allow us to not scale. If you don't know what it takes to get past the $1 million to scale your company, you have to go out and learn more. That's why I led with Audible, why I led with reading, why I led with the importance of knowledge. Because if you only know this, it's going to be hard to get to a level where you need to know that. And that doesn't mean school's the thing, but self-education is everything. And probably the hardest part is realizing in your company that some of the hardest decisions that you have to make, firing, hiring, changes, some of the hardest decisions are the most important ones. Some of the ones where you've had someone work for you forever, but no longer. They were really great to help you get here, and they're not a best fit to help you get there. Some of these things that come up and some of these hard conversations, hard changes and things, usually just by nature in your company or really in life, the harder the decision and the harder the thing, the more important and the more value it adds if you just do it. Easy decisions, easy problems don't provide value. So these are the things. These are the three biggest things with some ideas of all the unlearning in that third topic. And then that whole mindset of really we're just the biggest cap on ourselves of truly scaling anything, growing anything. That all is going to help you if you take this in, you digest this, read the book I suggested to you at first to scale past where you're at. Stop thinking that this is the goal. Think that that's a stepping stone on the way. This is a never-ending mountain that you can climb as long as you want.